Welcome back to another podcast of Road to Abundance. Today, guys, we have a special guest. It's my friend Tanner Chidester. It's a very special situation actually with Tanner. I met Tanner when he was fucking broke and miserable, like I think 8 years ago. And we were both modeling at a book conference in Vegas. I knew the Tanner that was all jacked up, same as me. It was funny time. And coincidences in life. When I met my girlfriend Sally, I moved to Miami. But that New Year that I met Sally, she tells me, "Hey, we're going to I think it was Fontainebleau or Live. I don't remember." She's like, "There's a my friends are there, and there's a guy who's gonna be there, Tanner." And at the moment, I'm like, Tanner. It's like such a special name, but I'm like, oh, I don't make any big deal of it. And we arrive at the bar. I think it was at Live, and then the girls are lined up at the bar, and then Tanner and another friend guy are like a little apart, not completely close to the girl, and apart. And then she's like, "Oh, we're here," and she pointed the girls. And then I look and I'm like, "Oh, Tanner!" And then I fucking click with Tanner, and then Sally is like, "Wait, you know that guy?" I'm like, "Oh shit, Tanner! Oh, okay, now it all makes sense." And then we started vibing from there. Fuck, you remember all?
Yeah, dude, I hadn't seen you in, I don't know how long it was, but yeah, it was super random. It was super random. Because I don't think I ever saw you after that. The book
No,
conference.
man. I mean, I remember back then, I think you just started and we were talking about fitness advice. And Alex was like, "Hey, Tanner, reach out to me. He wants to help me make money." And I was like, "Tanner," I was like, "Nah, fuck it." Like, it was like 6 months after the book conference. I was like, bro. He's like, "Should I invest?" And I was like, "I don't know, bro. Like, we met him. It's not like I don't know. Like, it's your money." And then Alex didn't do it. And then I started seeing more of your stuff online left and right. I saw the Lambo and stuff. And then I was so happy for you. And when I saw you, we started discussing, like, and you're like, "Bro, so much change in fucking 7 years. You went all in business."
Yeah.
And yeah, man, a lot of good thing happened for you. So it was just life connecting us again. And we'll talk about, like, from that moment up to now, what happened in our friendship and kind of in your mind. But tell us a little bit the backstory of Tanner. Like, how did he become this $60 million sales CEO, one of the best business coaching in the industry?
Yeah. So I grew up in a family, 7 kids. I'm one of 7, 2 brothers, 4 sisters. Pretty religious background, conservative, LDS or Mormons, how I was raised. As a kid, I was kind of strange because I had 2 older sisters and we played tea party and dress up, and my dad just let it happen. So it's probably my dad's fault. But yeah, it was kind of strange. And then I got into, like, middle school. I was getting made fun of a lot. And then I started working out around 12. And then about 3 months after that, I started just getting tons of compliments and I started doing better at sports, and girls started liking me. I was like, "Man, this is badass." And then that's kind of where I got my passion for fitness. And then from about 12 to 22, my whole life was football, or American football for anyone who's not in the States. And I just wanted to play in the NFL. I got to the Division I level, and then I got a ton of injuries. I also probably wasn't good enough, but I mean, I just got hurt so much that I stopped. And then that's where I had to kind of figure out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. So I think around that time, that's when I met you. It's probably like, I want to say maybe 22, 23, maybe.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a little older, but I don't know. It was like, I think it was like around that time. And then I started doing the modeling thing. I was trying to, like, sell workout programs and stuff really cheap. And I wasn't getting a lot of traction. And then I finally did, like, closer, I'd say, like, to 25. And then that's when I built my fitness company. And then that did $1 million a year. Then I had a bunch of trainers start asking for help. That's probably when Alex got, I don't know when Alex got hit up, but I wonder if it was me or my team. I don't know, but it's probably one of the two. And then I started helping trainers. That did 10 million. Then the next year we started helping everyone. That did 15. And then it's just kind of progressed from there. And so that wasn't really the plan. It just, it's kind of when you start doing well, people start asking for help, and then more opportunities come. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of the story in a nutshell. I don't know if I left anything out, but that's kind of the long story short.
Yeah, that's cool. And what would you say was the biggest, like, when was the shift for you that I'm fucking miserable and I don't have money? And then I remember, like, I know your story. So I remember you found a coach, you invested, you were complaining that it's fucking bullshit, I think. And then he said, "Shut up and just do it," which you did. Like, tell us the story.
Yeah. So I started, like, at 22, my first mentor's name is David Fry, and he's actually a friend of the family. So he made a deal with me because I wasn't going to church, and he's like, "Hey, if you go back to church, like I'll help you." And I didn't actually go back to church, so I feel kind of guilty, but he helps me. And so he helped me just build out my first product. It was called the Rapid Muscle System, and it took me like a year, like the landing pages, the PDFs, the outlines, the emails, like it was a whole bunch of stuff that I learned. And I didn't realize that at the time, but I got like a PhD in online marketing. And then I didn't make any money. And then I started making money later. And then what you're talking about is once I started making money, I knew I needed to figure out paid traffic or paid ads, but I didn't know how. So I started hiring a ton of coaches, but it felt like every single coach wasn't working. And then the coach you're talking about he was at my fifth coach. And you know me, like I just do stuff really hard. So at this point, I'm getting really frustrated because I'm spending a ton of money. I'm working like 16 hours a day. And he just was like, yeah, stop complaining, or like, I'm just going to give you a refund. And then I was like, well, fuck you. So I started messaging all my leads, like every single lead, I messaged them, and then I started making a ton of money. And then I was like, oh shit, like that's all I need to do. And then everything kind of changed for me. So it was like I'd say it's a 3-year period between when I started trying to make money and I actually started. And so
Mhm.
a lot of my success is like happened in the last, 5-6 years. But, there was like that 2-3 year period where I was making like shit. Like I wasn't making anything.
Yeah, and one thing that is important to note in your parkour, in your journey, is that you did 3 years of shit not really working. You were still investing in yourself, still hiring coach, still working like a lot before you figure out things. And people quit way too early, or they don't want to invest in coach when they don't have money, which you did the two. You invested in coach. You understand that it was a shortcut as a mentor, and then you also put the work behind because shit were not working. It's not like an overnight success. Now people see you, oh, made 60 million. Everybody know Tanner in the business sphere, and it looks so fucking easy for you now. But you did 3 years of not working, like barely any money coming in, and just reinvesting everything before it started to take off for you. And once it did, it was exponential.
Right. Exactly. I mean, it was just, it's like anything. It's probably you underestimate, like you underestimate like how hard it's going to be, but you also overestimate, right? Like, so it was a lot harder than I thought, but I don't think it also wasn't as hard on the same token. But yeah, the first couple of years, most of it was I was doing enough work. I think most people don't do enough work. I was doing enough work. I was just doing it the wrong way. So the easiest way to describe it was I was trying to dig a hole with a pencil, basically. I'm like, oh, this shit work, And so once I got the shovel, I was like, oh, this shit's super fucking easy. It's still hard, but if
Yeah,
you're digging a hole with a shovel, it's just much easier. So I just think I had the wrong tools and I had the wrong strategy. And it was like I went from a low ticket model to a high ticket model. And as soon as I went high ticket, is like everything started clicking.
that's fucking awesome. And tell us a little bit more. Like, again, I know that you had a hard mental time in between when you started to make a lot of money. I guess that you maybe thought money would bring you a lot of things. I know you talked on other podcasts. You went through a period of depression with million, which people would be like, wow, that's kind of weird because everybody has this thing about when I make $1 million, I would be happy. It's so fucking easy for you to say, bro, and all that stuff. So how you feel
Right.
about all that?
I mean, I like for me, everyone's different. I just know for me that whenever I saw super successful people, I just never really had that mindset. I always was like, what does he know that I don't? In fact, like I never thought anyone was full of crap. Like a lot of people, they see a lot of ads and they're like, oh, he's full of crap and all this type of stuff. But that never really was a thought for me until I got more in the industry. I always just assumed everyone was telling the truth. And I think most people are. I think it's just easier for most people to say that because it's like anything, it's if you don't have to take any accountability, you don't have to feel bad about yourself. You don't have to, wonder what you could have done. And that's kind of what's always driven me is, what are they doing that I'm not? And like, how can I get better? So I think part of it's just personality. I think most people say that because they don't want to do the work because it's hard. Um, but I don't know. Once you stop caring. I think at first it really bothered me, but once you get to a certain level, you just realize people who say or talk shit, they're not usually doing better than you.
Mhm.
And I think it's like a weakness not to be able to be happy for people. I have a friend who's like extremely successful, and I know that for him, he hasn't ever said it to me, but I know I see him say online all the time that one of the requirements for his friends is they have to like cheer for them. If they don't, like he's not gonna be friends with them. And it doesn't take anything away from you. So I think for me, I'm always like, I want to try to be happy for people, and I just want to try to learn from them. And
Yeah,
someone else's success doesn't take away from you. And I think that took me a while to understand. But a lot of people think that it's this like plate with like 5 pieces, and so you have to get your piece of the 5. But the irony is that money is printed every day. So the way I describe it is people are taking pieces, but as they're doing it, they're dumping more on. Right. So it's just, do you get a piece of it or not? That's really it. It's not that you can't get some and they can't. It's just, did you grab yours? That's kind of how I look at it.
that's cool. And do you think like coming from nothing, like no money, being broke, to doing millions of dollar, and you struggle from a little bit of depression at some time, like how do you feel? Like, did money bring you everything you wanted, and why do you feel like you were maybe disconnected from it and you went through that hard time and all that
Yeah.
stuff?
So, I mean, so when you're poor, I mean, obviously you're running away from that. So a lot of your discomfort in your head, you internalize is because you're broke, which is a big part of it, right? Like if you're living in a shitty place, you have a shitty car, like you can't take girls on dates. That is a lot of it. But I think, I was grinding and grinding and grinding, and then I got my business to where it was doing $1 million plus a month. And that was like the goal. Like I was like, oh my gosh, if I could just hit this, like I've made it. And then I got there and it didn't feel how I thought it would feel. Like it was fun for about a day, but it didn't feel how I thought it would feel. And so I think, when I got there and I was like, had a really nice place, I had a new Lamborghini and I had like a really awesome girlfriend, like I still just didn't feel content. And that was like, I think that was a hard moment for me because it didn't like make sense, right? It's like everyone says, if you get these things, you'll be happy. And then I wasn't.
Yeah,
And that's when I kind of started, I want to say like it was like it started my personal journey. I think like I still think I resisted a lot of it, but I mean, I started looking for like deeper answers, like what's the meaning of life? Why am I doing this? Why does this
yeah.
matter? And yeah, that's kind of when that started. So I say that started probably around like 27, 28, somewhere in there. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. I like that you're kind of vulnerable about it and you talk about it, because a lot of guys, they don't want to say how they feel. They don't want to say that they had a period. I don't say that. I don't believe in depression. I believe that you can be in a depressed state and then you loop in it because you're not talking about it. You're not seeking for answers and you keep digging the hole, because American dream is all about fucking making money, being famous, being successful. And when you do achieve it, it doesn't feel like it should feel. So then that's when you start questioning, because also they tell you as a guy that that having sex with a bunch of women, that's the dream, having a lot of money, cars and all that stuff. And then when you do get it, you question yourself, and then you get in a relationship, and then still at some point, if you didn't fix those part of yourself, you ruin the relationship. And then you're like, I should start back going to see girls that are single. And then you do it, and then it feel empty again. And then you're like, I'm empty in relationship, I'm empty when I fuck girl, like how should I behave in life? And then that's when you kind of started your process. And for me, it was the same exact thing. Like I didn't have as much money as you when I did, but even at early six figure, I was like, fuck, this feel miserable. And that's when kind of I went in the journey of like healing and going to do all that. And the funny part is when I met you, when I met you, but when we reconnected a year and a half ago, and you're at the bar and you're like, hey, like be careful with Sally, don't make her false expectation, like we care about that girl, like she's in the group. And then I was like, nah, bro, it's fucking 7 years ago, my little Playboy time is done. And
Yeah, that's like all I was thinking of. I was like, oh my gosh, like she has no idea. I was
yeah,
like,
Tanner,
this girl has no idea. Cause like all I think of is like 23-year-old Mike or whatever you were. And I was like, this guy's crazy. Yeah.
yeah, man. Tanner met me in my crazy time where I was rolling single, thinking I'm the king of the world.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. 7 years later, reconnected, and we started chatting. And I was telling you what I'm doing with personal development and helping people and coaching people. And your first thought was like, "Oh, I don't believe in your hoo-hoo shit." And then I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"One day, bro, you're gonna believe in that stuff, and it's gonna come back around." And you're like, it's not for me." And then funny part is Sally kept busting my ball for the whole year. She's like, you should reach out to Tanner. You should reconnect with him and show him what you do. And I'm like, babe, I don't force people into spirituality. I don't force people into personal development. Whenever Tanner is ready, he's going to reach out to me and I'll be there and I'll be a good friend. And 2 months ago, I think, my phone ring and you asked me to come home and then you want to talk and you're like, fuck, Mike, I'm ready. I'm ready for this. Like, I'm ready to see the who and the behind the curtain. And now we started like kind of like, we have a friendship. So I started kind of advising you, guiding you, kind of coaching you with all that stuff, sending you to some retreat, brain hacking. You went to do ayahuasca, ibogaine. Can you tell us a little bit of how does it feel to see behind the curtain? Is it so woohoo anymore? How do you enjoy that new side of your life? Because I think if I can say, like, you texted me this week and you said, bro, this fucking changed my life, bro. It
Yeah.
feels so good. It's a new world.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, um, like, I think if anyone is like not into it, I think the big shift for me personally, bro, was just going to that ayahuasca retreat. And I think because I heard people talk about it and I was like, yeah, it's probably bullshit too, but I'll try it. And I did the 40 years of Zen, and the 40 years of Zen was good,
An
but
introduction, bro.
yeah, it was good, but I still was kind of like, yeah, like it was good for a week, but like I don't know. Um, and then like you get back in the real world, so you start questioning stuff, and people are saying things. So I think for me, like when I did the ayahuasca thing, and then that really kind of opened my mind, and I think it was because when you go to therapy or you're doing meditation, you're doing breath work, I like sometimes I don't know, like before at least, I don't know. I almost felt like, is this really working? Am I just convincing myself this working? This guy said it works. Like, I don't really feel anything, right? But when you do the ayahuasca, you feel it for sure. Like, there's no denying you're feeling something,
Yeah.
and the thoughts are very profound. Like for me, it feels like it's almost like if someone's. I don't even know how to. It's like if someone's doing like this, you feel it. Like you know it's happening, and so like after I had that experience, I just think it like showed me different ways of looking at things, and then because of that it makes me more open. So like I've been doing meditation for the last like week, but it feels good now versus in the past. Like, it's fucking stupid, but it's because like I went through that and I like calmed my mind and I like saw things in a different lens, that now it makes more sense. So
Yeah.
I think, I don't know if that's for everyone, but I can just say for me, like if someone is similar to me, I think like them doing that retreat, that type of retreat
Yeah.
sooner than later will open them up to the other stuff. So I like if I could go back in time and I had met you first, like I wish somehow, some way you could have convinced me to go to that first. And then because I think it, for whatever reason, like that was kind of the push off the cliff I needed, because it was my own thoughts. And I
Mhm.
just think it was more powerful than like, like you're giving me advice. But I'm like, yeah, like whatever. I don't care.
Yeah.
Fuck up. Like,
So the reason why I guided you that way, and now you can reflect back on it, and that's what we were talking before this podcast, is the reason why I coach people first, and that's why I invested time with you in coaching, and I raise question. That's the whole goal, and that's why I sent you to do 40 years of Zen, so you understand also another perspective of asking yourself the question. And then when you went to do ayahuasca, you had a question lined up. You were like, "This is my intention for the journey." I don't like to send people do directly psychedelic. For anybody listening, the reason why I process things like that with Tanner, first, he's a friend, so I was coaching more layoff. Like I was very invested, putting way more time, but the process was a little different. And then I sent him to do a place where they do similar to things that I do for 1 week, so that he can learn to ask better question, provide better answer. And then he went to do ayahuasca and ibogaine, that are too psychedelic. But if you're gonna do those things, the only thing I would advise as a coach is make sure you have some guidance before and after to integrate, and also to know which question you want to ask. Because I remember when you came to me at first, your question were not so good. And if you can recall the last 2 months, I'm always like, you're not asking the right question, bro. Let's reframe your question. Let's do this thing. And now you have all the answers that you've been looking for. It's not like you're perfect. It's not
well,
like the journey is done, but it's a beginning.
yeah. And I think like, I mean, something I said earlier today is like, I don't think you're going to go, and it could change. I don't know how it is for other people, but I think you're not going to go on the retreat and just it like pops in your head and you're like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. And but I think what does happen, or at least what happened for me, is it became clear what I need to do. And then by doing that, the answer will become clear. Is that like, hopefully that makes sense? But like
Yeah.
in my case, I mean, you know what's going on. Like it feels clear like what I have to do. And then by doing that, the answer that I'm looking for is gonna come up, right? And so I think
Yeah.
it was more of like, here's the action steps you need to take to get to the answer you want. And that was good enough though for me, because to be frank with you, before that retreat, like I was like, oh, I would have never have thought that I wasn't doing my best in that thing. And I can share what that is if you want, but it's that wasn't a thought until I went to the retreat. I was like, oh shit, like maybe I'm
Yeah.
not doing my best. And that was kind of a, it, like opened my mind. I don't know.
Yeah, totally, man. And the thing is, you don't realize it. And I was asking question, and even though I was letting you know that those answer, I was like, even if I say it to my client, even if I would give you all the answer you're looking for, first the person is not ready to hear them, and the person won't follow advice because now the thing is when the first conversation we had 2 months ago, I laid out everything that's going to happen, and now after 2 months and all those psychedelic, you went back to the first thing I said, and you're like, "Fuck, now I understand. Let's do it." And that's what I told you. It's like no matter what you say to people, and no matter guys, if you're in a tough spot in your life right now and you want change, you need someone that will guide you in order to find the answers that you're looking for, because only you can make it click in your subconscious mind. I can only help you to reprogram it, but now everything is clear for you. I can see that like you made tremendous progress, so I'm super proud of you, man. And it's just the beginning, and like you said, meditation now feel good because you understand first the value of it, and you have kind of a peek behind the curtain of what it can do for your
Well,
mind.
it's
So it's
like, and it's like, yeah, and the retreats, like that's, you have to calm your mind to like make the changes. And obviously you're taking the plant medicine, so it's a psychedelic, so it's obviously a little different. But even when you're not on those, you start understanding like unless you calm your mind and you're like quiet and still, like no answers will come to you. And so sometimes like I think it makes sense if you're busy all the time and you're go 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 go, you can make a lot of like, you won't, it's hard to make, I would say, personal progress in your life, or like if you're struggling somewhere to make progress, because you know it comes from doing things differently typically. And if you're not calm enough to like find the answers or the things you should do, so nothing changes, you keep doing the same stuff, so you have the same problems. And like I think that was me for a long time. I mean, and it's
and
still not like done, but like I feel more clear on what I have to do.
yeah, you did a lot of progress, bro. I'm so proud of you. And the thing is, it comes down to my question, like if you for the future that is coming, and I know that we don't have regret the goals, but if you would do things differently now, you feel like you wouldn't spend so much time hustling, you would dedicate some time to yourself and to growth to make it in a healthy way and proper way, and that's what kind of you're going to do from now on with your business.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I mean, my new schedule is set up for that. I think I would have spent more time, and it depends where you're at. Like, if you're single, then like, yeah, you don't need to spend as much time maybe with like your girlfriend because you don't have one. But I think like spending a little time meditating, breath work, possibly, you know, obviously like the fitness stuff, you and me are big on that. I'm big on that. And then, you know, spending time with like having a set time for friends, family, or your girlfriend, and then possibly maybe one or two activities that you get fulfillment out of, whether it's like, I don't know, you could do like boxing or like dancing, I don't care, whatever it is. Like I think I think for me, like that's important. And because I usually just only work, and I really do enjoy work, but those other things suffer. And so I think, you know, especially I'd say specifically like the relationship stuff. Like if you want to have good relationships with people, it doesn't just happen. And I think that's been a big lacking part of my life where I'm not intentional. And because you're not intentional, it doesn't happen, right? Because
Yeah.
you can't have a great relationship with someone if like there's no effort or there's no like energy put into it. And so I would have done that probably a little different. Even when I was growing my companies, like I probably would have done that a little different. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's cool that you say that because I know a lot of people are looking up to you as a business mentor, and even your clients, and a lot of people are looking at you like you're young, you're a multi-millionaire, and business is thriving, and they're just like there's this old mentality of hustle culture of like sacrificing everything just for work, 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 and I'm like, fuck you doing, man? Like you need your sleep, you need your fitness, you need your mental space and head and routine, and then if you do are in a relationship, you need to invest time in this. And I like that you say that for new generation to come, and even the people that are probably could be in the same situation as you, because even if you have tremendous amount of money and the Lambo and all the cool stuff and the fucking $25,000 a month penthouse, if you don't do those things for your mental health, the money won't mean anything. You can relate to that.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, 100%. Yeah. And, you know, it like came full circle for me. I think like part of the reason I'm so driven to make a lot of money is like, I actually do want to help people. And a lot of times, you know, that like the thought I had during the retreat was, you know, I want to make money because I was broke. And then as you build a company, you need to hire people because you need help. And then as it gets bigger, you realize now you're building the company to help other people. So it's kind of like this weird circle of life thing.
Mhm.
And so that was pretty clear for me. But yeah, like if you're just making a bunch of money to buy a bunch of shit, like it won't make you happy. And especially stuff like, I don't know about you, but for me, it's gotten easier not to buy stuff because I'm like, yeah, if I buy it today, it'll be old in 6 years. So like, why do I care? You know, like that's where my head is at now. Like I just don't care about stuff like I
Yeah.
used to because it gets old and it like breaks and it's not cool anymore. And so I just rather spend my money like growing stuff and like building stuff I care about, like helping people versus just stuff that like ultimately after 6 months gets old.
Yeah, totally, man. And the funny part is, like, when I was broke, just like you, I dreamed about the Lambo for so long, and the Ferrari and all that stuff. And nowadays, like, just in personal development, I spend approximately $8,000 a month. So sometimes people will look like I have a very nice car, but nothing like, I mean, it's $100,000 car, nothing too fancy. But the thing is, $8,000, bro. I could have two Lambo for that price. The thing is, like, your value and your what drives you change. I also like to invest in company, and I want to build a future and something that I'm proud of. I'll buy nice thing when I need them. If I need a headphone, I'll buy the nicest one that I want. If I want a camera, I'll invest. But just like you, I won't just spend money like for random shit anymore just to prove myself or just to buy some fill some void inside, which I think at the beginning we need some self-confidence and all that stuff. And it starts with fitness. We get sexy and hot to attract girl to fill a void, and then we feel that once we get girl, we fill that with material, and then just the void just change until you have to fix the hole because you're like, fuck, nothing
Yeah.
else can fill that hole. I have to do it myself.
I think,
So
I think like something like a good, well, I think something that's interesting is kind of figuring out um, when like you want to do something because you have fun or like when you need to not do it, if that makes sense. So like even something that I'm starting to question is, you know, when is it okay to party or when is it okay to go to a club? Like, do I need to go to a club? Like, and it's not because you can, it's just, I mean, ultimately, like you want to feel fulfilled, and it's like sometimes there's trade offs, right? Because you get dopamine rushes from certain things, but then sometimes those things turn out not to be in your best interest. So I look at it a lot like, you know, it's the same reason we diet. Like you don't eat cake every day, but ultimately, like the discipline pays off. So,
yeah.
anyways, I'm not saying for anyone listening, I'm not saying like you can't party and stuff. I'm just saying like those are things that I'm starting to look at and question now versus just, oh, this is fun, so I want to do it. Because I don't know if that's always like the right way to look at things.
Yeah, totally, man. And the thing is, a lot of people party, and I'm like, "What the fuck are you partying, bro? Your life is miserable." Or what are you trying to escape? And that's the thing. It's like if you're always partying because you're trying to escape your life, and you drink alcohol because you feel miserable, this is not going to help you. You're going at it the wrong way. But just like you, I'm all about balance. So if we want to go to Ultra once a year, if you want to go to, like, sometime you call me like once or twice a year, and you'll be like, "Yo, Mike, I got a booth at this bar if you want to come," and I'll be like, "Okay, this day." If I want, I can drink or whatever, but I reserve it for special occasion. I don't like to trash myself and feel so bad, and I don't gain anything from it. I'm just like you now. It's like that's why I was like, you need to live in the present moment. Go travel, go enjoy your life, like live and traveling and doing experience and really finding what makes you thrive is the key to everything. Versus like the thing with alcohol, it's been proven that it raises your frequency in terms of if you're a low frequency, it's going to raise it on the scale for 350, which is a big dopamine hit for most of people. But when you start to be high on life, that's why I don't drink for the last like 7, 8 years, except very rarely. Your high state on every day is higher than that. And then when you drink alcohol, you feel that you go lower, you're hangover the next day like shit. And it's for me, I'm like, why would I waste my life like that? Every day is fucking amazing. I want to be as good as I can on every day.
Yeah.
And I know that you've been helping me with the business too, like giving me some advice. I know a lot of people look up at you for business stuff. Like, um, what could we give like kind of the people listening now that are starting in business? Maybe some business advice, maybe some tips, like that you want to share, some gem or whatever.
Well, I mean, obviously it's going to depend where they're at, but if someone is a brand new beginner, the advice I wish I had gotten was it's really simple. So you just pick something you're good at and you go teach that. So typically it's going to be health, wealth, or relationships. So like for us, I know for me it was just fitness because that's what I was good at. Or you can show someone how to make or save money, or you show someone how to have like a better relationship, right? Um, like if you even think about my journey, like the stuff you helped me with, it was about a relationship, right? That's kind of
Mhm.
what got me like drawn towards it.
Yeah.
Some people will say they're not good at one of those things. So what I say, if they're not, go to udemy.com. It's udemy.com. There's literally a million courses there for like $5 to like $100. Pay for one of those, learn the skill, and then you start teaching people that skill. It's really simple. And then in terms of finding people, all I did, and a lot of people, that was the thing too. Like I thought it was super complex, but all I did is I started messaging individuals. And then what I looked for is I'd message 100 people, I get 30 responses, I'd book 5 to 6 sales calls, and I'd close one or two, and I'd sell it for $3,000 or more. And I was like, holy shit, I just made more in an hour than I made in a month. And then once you start doing that, you just start naturally learning more about business. But I think the worst thing most beginners can do is like watch Shark Tank and go try to build one of those companies. The sad part is a lot of those companies don't work out, and they take out massive loans and mortgage their homes, all this kind of shit. Like your first business should be a safe bet, get some cash flow. And then once you build cash flow, there's a lot of stuff you can do. And so that's been a blessing for me is that, um, I think the business I'm in now is not going to be like my 9 or 10 figure business, but it builds a lot of cash flow. And that's what allows me to have the lifestyle I have, allows me to invest in the companies that I want to. It's going to propel me into the next thing. Because,
It was a
it's hard
good
to make.
teacher.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like it's a great cash flow business. That's the nice thing. Some companies don't do that. So I just would not make the mistake of, and it depends on everyone's risk tolerance, excuse me, but I just don't see the benefit in trying something that you could put 5 to 10 years of your life in and get nothing out of it. Like that just to me makes no sense. It's
Mhm.
like I would start off with something where you can start getting some cash flow. And it's kind of the same thing you're doing now. Like you're doing Road to Abundance, and essentially like you're trying to help people, either whether you say it's their wealth or their relationships or whatever. And then you do enough contacts, you have enough sales calls, you make money, and then as you do that you get better and better and better, so you make more and more and more, and then that propels you into the next thing you do for business, because like the skills I've learned translate over to other industries.
Yeah. No, for sure. And it was a good teacher. And like you said, it's like even for me for years I delayed that process of starting my business as a coach because I was like, oh, I'm too good. I'm already like a celebrity trainer. I'm all this like and coaching people for Road to Abundance required me to step back. I had to go back and kind of like I'm not a king anymore because there's like I'm not top of the industry. I'm just uh, a guy that is very good at what he does, and
Right.
you can relate now after 2 months. But the thing is, I had to prove myself now again. I had to show that I'm good at what I do versus fitness. I already made it and I was good on social media and all that stuff. So for me, like you said, is just to get back into like reaching to people and serving people and helping people. And every business will require you to step out of your comfort zone. So like Tanner said, just fucking do it. And Tanner is the example that right now for me, yes, it's much easier because we're talking about 10 years in the process. I invested hundreds of thousands in myself. So I'm not starting from zero, like he said, but Tanner did 3 years of reach out with barely making any money. So just don't
Yeah.
give up on your dream. Like you have to pursue it, invest in mentor. And that's what Tanner did the whole time. It's like invest in a guy like me, invest in a guy like Tanner, just get yourself someone that can get you to the next level. And it's never wasted money when you do
Well,
the
and it's
investment.
it's funny it's funny because you've always said this, but it's like life is really long. So when you're going through it, 2 years is like, oh my gosh, that's so long. But when you're on the other side, you're like, man, 2 years was nothing to get there. And so I don't know. I kind of keep being reinforced or have the thought, that a lot of good stuff comes on the other side of hard things. Like even the thing I'm going through right now. So it
Mhm.
hasn't really been that long. It feels long to me. It's like, oh, it's been like 3 months,
Yeah.
right? But in the grand scheme, it's not that long. So I just think being willing to be patient and understand in the timeline, it's not that long of a time, and just like push through it, because on the other side, good stuff happens.
Yeah, and I don't want to share too much of your personal stuff, but it's like I've been telling you all that for the. It's like every time you're like in that hard space, you're like, "Fuck!" It feels like forever. When there's one part of your life that is not how you want, and you focus all your energy on it, it does feel like it's the end of the world, kind of, because your whole focus is there, and where the focus go, the energy flow. And I
Right.
kept repeating to Tanner, I'm like, bro, you're gonna laugh, and that's in 1 year or 2 year from now, we're gonna sit and you'll be like, fuck, I see what you were saying. And guys, you're still young. Even if we look at guys like Grant Cardone was broke at 40 years old. Now he's a billionaire, whatever. Tony
Yeah.
Robbins,
Yeah.
so many things happened to him, and at 40 years old he started to make money. Joe Dispenza has been talking about concept of spirituality and all that stuff since 1994 or something like that, but we're talking about 20 years. And you're there, and you're 24, 25, 30 years old, and you're like, oh, I'm not rich yet, my life is not how I want. And it's like, bro, you barely did one third of your life. Like, now we live up to 100 year, man. You're not even in your prime. Like, keep going. And it's putting your head down. And I see people, like, when I met you 2 years after, I had a training coach. And for me, I didn't make money fast enough in trading. I was good, I was teaching people, I was in the industry, but I couldn't wait. I just couldn't be patient. And the guy that taught me now worth hundreds of million years later, 8, 9 years later, because at some point, just like you don't make money, and then boom, you start making 1 million, and then 10 million, and then 60 million. And then people are like, oh, it was so easy for you. But they forget the 4 or 5 years of like struggle, and the effort that you just kept your head in the game.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of persistence. It's not the sexy thing, but it's kind of like what it takes.
Yeah. Do you have a special routine? I know, like, you share a little, like, you wake up kind of early. Now you're gonna modify it a little bit to invest
Yeah.
more me time before, and sometime with the relationship at the end of the day. But
Yeah.
you were always like maintaining that hustle.
Yeah. So right now, I wake up at 4:30 or 4:45. I want to do a I wrote down cold shower, but I haven't been doing it. I think I'm gonna get that cold plunge thing we talked about.
Yeah.
Um, just because I'm at my parents, and it's like, I don't know, but that's what I want to do, or I should do. Then I meditate. Then I go to the gym, come back, shower, start working, and then right now my schedule's like 7:30 to like 2:30 or 3 o'clock work. And then what I want to do when I get back in my like Miami routine is I'll have like an hour of like some activity that I want to do. Then I'll have like another hour or 2 hours of Spanish, because I've wanted to learn Spanish, but I need to take it like super seriously. And then 6 to 9 is going to be like girlfriend, friends, family time. And then, so the only thing that I could see change is like if something's really going on with work, I could see like that change, or like, maybe I don't do it every day. Maybe I do it's like 3 times a week. So 2 days is like work, and then the other 3 days or something is the activities. But the non-negotiable I have is kind of like, as soon as I wake up till 2:30 ish, like work, and then the end of the day. And I think it's specifically like the end of the day stuff's like the stuff I need to like make a priority.
Yeah, man, and I'm super proud of your change. It's important for me to tell you, because I've seen your growth. And the Tanner that I met 1 year and 1.5 years ago was a fucking hustler. Like, it's like I was going on a friend date with you, like just seeing you, and you couldn't leave your computer for a minute. You were disconnected. You were working from 7 in the morning to 7 at night. And I was like, Tanner, like, it's like you have to connect with people, you have to do other thing. And it's just like, when you're so down in the trenches, you don't see it. And now, like, tremendous change. And the funny part is, bro, I know you. It's not like I mean, you do spend money, but never as much as money you make. So it's like working
Yeah.
16 hours a day when you don't really need to. I'm like, bro, go enjoy your
Yeah.
life. What if you die tomorrow? It's like, so man, it's
Well, and
it's
I
a lot
think
of.
I think the thing too is like it's not even so much. I don't even know if it's so much like how much you work per se, but it's like you need to be present when you're not. And I definitely have realized now that like even just having your phone, like it's just so natural for me to be sitting there, and then I'm just like, and I don't even need to, but I just do it.
Yeah.
And then so the quality of like the time you're spending with that person is really low, because they're trying to connect or talk to you, and you're like, yeah, 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 like, and like you're not like fully focused. So I think that's a big thing too, is like you need to have times where like you're not on your phone, for sure.
Yeah, totally. And Sally was just like you. She's a pure hustler. When I met her, she was zero present. And 1 year and a half with me, she changed tremendously. And just like you, she sees everything. Because I remember myself at 23, 24, my mom kept saying those shit. And I'm like, Mom, I'm trying to make money, bro. I'm going to be a millionaire. You don't know about it. Like, let me fucking work. And then you realize that by taking actually that time off, you make way more money and you attract way more better thing in your life because you're present when you work and you're present with friends, and it creates a whole dynamic. And even for me, in case you don't know, guys, when you practice those behavior that Tanner is talking about with the phone and all that stuff, it creates pattern in your subconscious mind. So like just like Tanner said, you don't even realize, and next thing you know, you're on your phone while you're talking to people, and you're like, I'm listening because I can multitask, but it doesn't mean that you're present. I'm listening to you. It doesn't mean I'm fully present with you. So enjoy the people around you, be present. That's fucking amazing. And to kind of round out the podcast on a like 2 or 3 more questions for you, it's like first your top 3 book that people can be either for entrepreneur, for life, like stuff
Yeah.
like that.
So a business book I really love is Ready, Fire, Aim. Like that's like one of my favorite business books. I haven't read it in a long time, but I remember when I did read it, High Performance Habits by Brendan Burchard was really impactful because the whole premise of the book is like how to be super successful and like have balance, right? Or like,
Yeah.
when I say balance, I don't think balance is like 4 hours this, 4 hours that. It's just, but how you get everything you want out of life, right? Because a lot of
Mhm.
times when you push really hard in one direction, you have to not push as hard in the other. And so it pulls away from that. And then the third one I would say is, man, there's just so many. Shoot, that's so tough. Uh, just recently, because it's like on the top of my head, was for like it's another business book, but I'm good friends with Alex Hormozy, and like that book, his book $100 Million Offers, I think is like a great business book, especially for
Oh
someone who's a
yeah.
beginner and doesn't understand that. And that's just like top of my mind, like some of the best books I've read like recently. But I'd say those three. There's a million others. Like I love Audible. I'm like really big on Andrew Huberman right
Oh
now,
yeah.
like all his podcasts at the gym and stuff. But yeah, those would be like the big ones for sure.
Were you listening to him before me? Before I suggest that you do?
No, not really. Like, but I'm actually, I actually geek out on a lot of what he does because I've gotten really into like Brian Johnson's Blueprint Protocol recently, like
Yeah.
the anti aging guy, and
Yeah.
uh,
That spent 2 million.
yeah, and who's the Ben Greenfield, I think, yeah, and then so he talks about that, and I think what brought me onto him, Mike, was he was talking a lot about psychedelics, and this was right when I was doing them, so it
Yeah,
just
that's
like
when I sent you the ibogaine stuff.
yeah, so it got me really interested in it. So I'm not like huge. I'm not huge on podcasts typically, but what I've noticed is like when I read a book, I don't like to start reading another book until I've really processed it. So in between, then I'll start listening to podcasts at the gym. So because I don't want to move on to like a whole nother topic, if that makes sense. Podcasts are a little more digestible, and it's like just one
Yeah.
point versus like a whole book. So, but yeah, those are like 3 books, and then like Andrew Huberman is like nothing about business, but like I just find it super interesting.
Yeah, man. Andrew Uberman, one thing, it feels like a book. It's like he's reading you a book and you all get the stats and the geek and the stuff. And it's like a summary of it. This guy's amazing. It's like, I know why he's trending right now. I'm suggesting everybody to go listen to him. It's like, this guy's a legend in his field, Stanford University professor and Dr. Andrew Uberman. He just gives you the fact about everything. And even meditation, breathworks, he put the science behind for a lot of people like Tanner that don't believe in that stuff at the beginning. When someone that is a PhD in neuroscience and all that stuff start explaining you what it does scientifically on the brain, you're like, okay, this shit might be real. And
Yeah.
I know for me that I geek out on that stuff. At first, I was listening to Joe Dispenza, and I love those guys because they connect what I do and what I preach to matter. Like it does really work, and you should do it. So that's super cool. And what do you feel this year was your best investment? And also, do you still invest in personal development?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, I do. I mean, honestly, bro, it was all the plant medicine stuff. Um, I mean, like you said, like you've helped me a lot too, but I think like that was just the breakthrough I needed to kind of open me up. Because again, it's like when you were telling me something versus the thought came on my own,
Yeah.
it's just so much more powerful. And then once it comes on your own, you're like, oh, okay, like maybe these are things I was missing or these are things I need to do. So now I'm like more open. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you invited me to some breath work yesterday and I missed it on accident. Like I would never have done that. But now that I've been through that experience, I'm like, oh, these things like I think can really help, and like these things are good to do.
Yeah.
So that was like the best investment. The ironic part is it's a lot cheaper than other stuff I've spent money on, like a lot cheaper.
Yeah,
So
man.
anyway, it's just kind of ironic.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like it's crazy how much it changed your life, and a lot of people like you are doubting it at the beginning, but once you do see the value, you're like, bro, like it worth hundreds of thousands. It's better than everything I've done before, and it's cool to combine it with other stuff. I still do invest in business. I still do other stuff, but for me, most of my investment is always in myself and in those practice because I've seen the value very early, and I was blessed enough that I made it my life work. But it's super cool. Is there anything else you want to finish the podcast on? Something I didn't ask you, you want to give advice or anything, and say where they can find you?
No, I mean, I think you hit all the stuff. Just I'm super grateful. Like, Mike stuck with me. I mean, he's obviously a friend, so I think he's a little bit. He put up with a little bit more than he should have. But it was very needed. And then just I think for anyone listening, it's not really that crazy, but I think it's almost always comes back to like everything that's worthwhile is on the other side of hard work. Like you diet, you get a great body. You work hard, you get a great business. Like you put time into your relationship, you get a great relationship. Like I think sometimes we're hoping things will be easy. And I think I think I was like, man, my life is so hard. I want my relationship to be easy. And then I was like, oh, it's not going to be. So that was like a great realization. Just, people are listening, like just be willing to put in the work. And then just in
Yeah.
terms of finding me, like probably YouTube or Instagram, just type my name in. Like there's not a lot of guys with my name and you're good to go.
Yeah, man. And the funny part is relationship can be easy if you put effort into it, but trying to have it easy when there's zero effort is like trying to be a millionaire while working 1 hour a day. At the beginning, you might need to put effort, and then now for you, business is easy because it's automatic. So now it's like going to put those effort in relationship. And yeah, obviously, guys, you won't get the Tanner special treatment when you get me as a coach. I put up with a lot of hours with Tanner, but at the end of
Yeah.
the day, that's what I kept telling him is I kept repeating, like, because we had hours of conversation on the phone, and I was like, no matter what I tell you, bro, I can give you all the answers, but you need to come up with those answers
On
yourself.
your
And
own.
now you see it. And I was still repeating myself and still doing the work and trying to make you come up to those answers. So I tried every solution in the book. And I got help with plant medicine because I know it creates moments of aha and realization. And I prepped you for it, and then you did it. And I'm super happy that everything is rolling for you. But yeah, guys, the thing is, what I do for you is I make you realize your full potential and rewire your mind. And that's important. And Tanner on the other side help you to crush your business and take it to the next level. And I can say I value his friendship, and I value also his advice. He helped me to change my business. Like Tanner's really good at what he does. And I had a lot of business coach. I tried a lot of different people, and I can guarantee that he know what he's talking about. Like this guy knows his shit. And you might not get him personally like I do, but his team and what he built, it's tremendous value. And I can tell you because I'm using his stuff, and it did change my business. So it's good that you're good at his skills like me. And yes, I can take you to the next level in your identity and get you ready for that $1 million business and prep you to be the person. And you can combine it with that type of business investment in order to get the how on how to do business.
Yeah. 100%.
So,
Thanks for
yeah,
that,
man,
dude.
thank you for joining us. And guys, I hope that you listen to the podcast. I hope you catch something for all of you entrepreneur out there, everybody that's hustling for a better life and want to get everything better. I hope you got some gem, and I'll see you in another podcast. Have a great day.
See you guys.